Namo Buddhaya, and good morning, good evening, depending where you are in the world. Welcome to our Tuesday or Wednesday morning Dhamma program. I'm very happy. Today we have with us Venerable Bhikkhuni Avera, and she's coming to us from India, so it is Wednesday morning for her. And some of you may remember her. She was with us this past Vasa at Dhamma, and I think led some programs during that time. So some of you might have met her online previously or met her in person. We're very glad to have her back online with us today, and hope to be seeing more of her over time, either in person or online. Venerable Bhikkhuni Avera today is going to continue with the next step in our series of teachings, our current series, which is focusing on this progressive teaching that the Buddha would often give to basically new converts, those who were new to the Dhamma, who had some initial faith and inspiration and wish to find out what the Buddha had to say about things. When they came to him with that initial faith and inspiration, he would speak to them first about giving and generosity, about morality, about the possibility of heaven, living well and happily in this worldly way. And then he would talk about the downsides of sensual pleasures and the benefits of renunciation, as we heard about from Maya Brahmavara this past Sunday. And then when they were ready, and the Buddha could tell that they were ready, having their minds prepared by this initial few stages of the path, then he would give them their special teaching of the Buddhas. Everything that came before was, something that other teachers could also teach during that time, and did also teach during that time. But the special teaching of the Buddhas is the teaching on the Four Noble Truths. This is the special thing that he awakened to and then was able to teach to others. So for those who've been joining us the past few sessions, hopefully your minds have been well prepared, brightened, made supple and ready. And I'm going to invite Venerable Bhikkhuni Avera to take us to the next stage. She's going to lead in some meditation to further brighten and clear our minds, and then she'll offer this teaching for us. So I'm very happy to have her with us, and welcome, Venerable. Please lead us. Please teach us the Dhamma.
I invite everybody to sit comfortably and connect back with their bodies, with their breath and their mind, gathering all the energies within. Wherever our minds might be scattered, just allow it to come back and settle in right here. Naturally. Just being aware of the breath as it comes in, breath as it goes out. want, you can try to take a couple of long, deep in and out breaths. So the mind gathers naturally. And if there is any tightness or tension in the body, allow it to naturally dissolve. And see as the breath swiftly moving through. The breath energies, or the chi as it is said. Allowing the breath to be the anchor for the mind so that it chooses to stay in the present moment with just awareness, doing nothing but just being aware. And to naturally help it to settle down, see what is going through the body. See how the breath connects the mind with the body. And naturally allow the body to settle gently, calmly. Relaxing the body with each incoming breath, exhaling out all the stress or tightness or tension if there is any. And making ourselves comfortable in the present moment. Just being grounded in the present moment. Relaxed mind, relaxed body. And if you want, you can scan through the body to notice any pattern of tension or tightness there, anywhere, helping it relax and naturally, gently being in the present moment. as the mind is in the present moment, breath and acting as an anchor, and the body thus relaxed. Allow your mind to just gently observe how the nature of the breath is to arise, stay, and pass away. How the mind, when it was entangled before, and now all those thoughts have passed away, they have stopped. And we are gently in the present moment, training our minds to just simply be in the present moment. Allowing it to know that it can stop, can rest. Allowing it to experience the peace that comes from rest, the real rest. How beautiful and how powerful the present moment is, and how the choices make such a big difference. Allowing yourself to choose to softly, gently be in the present moment and experience its calm that is naturally flowing within the body. Also allowing the body to shed all the burdens that it is carrying, allowing the body to soften with the breath, don't try to hold on to it, don't try to cling to it, or it will change into the greed or change into wanting. Just allow it to naturally flow away, allow it to gently pass away while humbly, softly trying to see with awareness and just be right here in the present moment. Allowing things to keep moving, keep flowing, allowing it to arise and pass away. Allowing the calm presence to be deeply nourishing the body in every moment, from moment to moment. the mind wanders off, allow it to come back to the breath. Now perhaps maybe try to see that how even Bodhisattva was a human being. When Buddha was still unawakened, with this inspiration, with this aspiration to walk the path that leads to the deathless, and with already a variety of views in samsara, he's struggling through all of them just like us, entangled into suffering and trying different ways, different paths that can help him come out of all the sufferings. Six years of austerities with no guidance, the struggle of living into an uncertainty, seeing how much he has left behind for the sake of attaining what he dreams, what he aspires to, what he wishes to, the ultimate deathless, the ultimate happiness, the ultimate liberation from all the suffering. Not sure whether he'll achieve it or not. Walking each path, until he come across in realizing that how he was just pushing away all the pleasures at the end, dwelling into two extremes before the awakening, one into extreme sensuality, the pleasures of sense organs when he was in the palace, and later tormenting himself into extreme austerities, cutting off any source of pleasure that might be arising, only depending upon the pleasure that comes from pure mindfulness, concentration, and discernment. Until he realized that there is not the end of the suffering that way, either way, and choosing to come and seek the path that is middle way. After having a nourishing meal offered by Sujata, and as Bodhisattva went on to his final quest, and as he was sitting under the Bodhi tree, started contemplating again. And as he was away from all the hindrances, and had this pure happiness, pure bliss of being in the present moment and experiencing this pleasure that is blameless. He allowed that pleasure to come in. And he went through contemplating about how, in the similar way, things have the same characteristic of arising and passing away. While deeply contemplating about meaning of all the things as they come through, understanding them, comprehending them. So as you all meditate, allow me to read the passage from Mahasatipatthana Sutta on Four Noble Truths, which is in Dhamma section. If you want, you can choose to meditate. If you wish, you can pay attention while your eyes open or close. Any way that you find it comfortable to reflect upon what Buddha had been going through and what his search went him through. So he says, and further, the monk remained focused on mental qualities in and of themselves, with reference to the Four Noble Truths. And how does a monk remain focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the Four Noble Truths? There is a case where he discerns, as it has come to be, that this is stress. This is the origination of stress. This is the cessation of stress. And this is the way leading to the cessation of stress. Now, what is the noble truth of stress? Birth is stressful. Aging is stressful. Death is stressful. Sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair are stressful. Association with the unbeloved is stressful. Separation from the loved is stressful. Not getting what is wanted is stressful. In short, the five clinging aggregates are stressful. Then, understanding this, he went further deep and seeing and contemplating what is birth. Whatever birth, taking birth, descent, coming to be, coming forth, appearance of aggregates, and acquisition of sense, sphere of the various beings in this or that group of beings, that is called birth. And what is aging? Whatever aging, decrepitude, brokenness, fraying, crinkling, declining of life forces, weakening of the faculties of the various beings in this or that group of beings, that is called aging. What is death? Whatever deceasing, passing away, breaking up, disappearance, dying, death, completion of time, breakup of the aggregates, casting off of the body, interruption in the life faculty of the various beings in this or that group of beings. That is called death. So we can see how Buddha is contemplating the things that disturbs him the most, right? Like as he chose to move out from the samsara or his lay life, these were the exact four incidences where he saw that how people are subject to aging, how they are subject to death, and how he is also subject to these things. And fourth was there was this contemplative who was meditating. He thought, oh, there must be a way out that this person or the practitioners might be knowing, which he wished to aspire. But still, until he attained that awakening, he seems to be agitated with these things because the birthless, the deathless was not found yet. So he sat observing and noticing what these things are, what actually it means, what happens, be it inside or outside with other beings. And similarly, he followed through with the other types of suffering that does exist, which is, as we see next, he explored what is sorrow. So whatever sorrow, sorrowing, sadness, inward sadness of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by a painful thing, that is called sorrow. And what is lamentation? Whatever crying, grieving, lamenting, weeping, wailing, lamentation of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by a painful thing, that is called lamentation. And what is pain? Whatever is experienced as bodily pain, bodily discomfort, pain or discomfort born of the bodily contact, that is called pain. And what is distress? Whatever is experienced as a mental pain, mental discomfort, pain, or discomfort born of mental contact, that is called distress. Now, we can see like why the Dhamma connects us with us so deeply, or why the Buddha's teaching were so easiest to spread across, was the reason that they are so much worth experiencing. They are so easy to be experienced by anyone who is sane, who holds the potential, who holds that ability to understand these gentle things. Yeah, this is how it is. All it requires is the grounding and the ability to stay and stop and hear. And I'm very happy that there are many who are able to do this now. So moving further, you can see what is despair. Whatever despair, despondency, desperation of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by a painful thing, that is called despair. And what is the stress of association with unbeloved? There is a case where an undesirable, unpleasing, unattractive sight, sound, aromas, flavors, or tactile sensation occur to one, or one has connection, contact, relationship, interaction with those who wish one ill, who wish for one's harm, who wish for one's discomfort, who wish for no security from the youth. This is called the stress of association with the unbeloved. Feel like it's easier if, like, As I'm on the phone, I'm not able to connect and see others, but if there is any doubt or any question that arises, then please kindly raise your hand and we can have, or put your question in the chat so we can connect. Or if you are just connecting, allow the Dhamma to go in, and we can also keep the questions or comments for the end. So I'll read forward. And what is the stress of separation from the loved? There is the case where desirable, pleasing, attractive sight, sound, aromas, flavors, or tactile sensation do not occur to one, or one has no connection, no contact, no relationship, no interaction with those who wish one well, who wish for one's benefit, who wish for one's comfort, who wish for security from the yoke, nor with one's mother, father, brother, sister, friends, companions, or relative. This is called the stress of separation from the love, separation from what we like. And what is the stress of not getting what is wanted? In being subject to birth, the wish arises, oh, may we not be subject to birth, and may birth not come to us. But this is not to be achieved by wishing. This is stress of not getting what is wanted. In being subject to aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair, the wish arises, oh, may we not be subject to aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. And may aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair not come to us. But this is not to be achieved by wishing. This is the stress of not getting what is wanted. And what are the 5 clinging aggregates that, in short, are stressful? Form clinging aggregates, the feeling clinging aggregate, the perception clinging aggregate, the fabrication clinging aggregate, consciousness clinging aggregate. These are called the 5 clinging aggregates that, in short, are stressful. Thank you, Juno, for your kind message. Oops, we accidentally lost where we were talking. We find it back again. So basically, Buddha again connected us with everything that we can see, experience. It can be either in the terms of form as the clinging aggregate. If we go in detail or in a little more depth, we can see the associated feelings and how the feelings became clinging, a ground for the clinging. And going deeper and further, you can see how perceptions are deeply undermining how we feel, guiding us about how we feel and how we perceive things. And that's where we can again cling, oh, may only this come to me, may this not come to me. And similarly, with this intention, with these perceptions, we go on and fabricate things in the samsara, be it in terms of mental fabrications, verbal fabrications, or bodily fabrications. And similarly, there is this consciousness clinging aggregate, where we are just again revolving around in greed, aversion, and delusion, wanting to seek happiness, but still not understanding that how short-lived or how inconstant things are. And again, we still fall into the same loop of stress and suffering. So these are called the 5 clinging aggregates that in short are stressful. This is called the noble truth of stress. And what is the noble truth of the origination of the stress? So it says the craving that makes for further becoming, accompanied by passion and delight, relishing now here and now there, high sensuality craving, becoming craving, and non-becoming craving. Accompanied by passion and delight. You can see we are whatever we are doing, there is so much of passion, there's so much of delight, there's so much of devotion that we put in. Yeah, be it in any direction. That is what is carrying the fire ahead. I'll get to your question, James, in some time. Maybe in the end, so that we go through this a little and then move to the question on dependent co-arising, but it just move part. That's fine with you. And that goes further. And where does this craving when arising arises, and where when dwelling does it dwells, and where endearing and alluring in terms of the world, that is where whatever is endearing and alluring in terms of the world, that is where this craving when arising arises. That is where when dwelling it dwells. So Buddha just didn't stop at the 3 types of craving, but he saw like where does this craving arise when it arises and where it dwells. Anything, whatever is endearing and alluring in terms of the world, that is where this craving when arising arises. That is where when dwelling it dwells. And what is endearing and alluring in terms of the world? He says the eye is endearing and alluring in terms of the world. That is where this craving when arising arises. That is where when dwelling it dwells. Similarly, the ear, nose, tongue, body, the intellect. That is where I would say this craving when arising arises. That is where when dwelling it dwells. Form, sounds, aromas, flavors, tactile sensations, ideas. That is where this craving when arising arises, and when dwelling it dwells. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, intellect consciousness. This is where when craving arising arises, and this is where when dwelling it dwells. Eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, intellect contact. Then feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, feeling born of nose contact, feeling born of tongue contact, feeling born of bodily contact, feeling born of intellect contact. This is where when craving arising arises. This is where when dwelling it dwells. Perceptions of form, perception of sound, perception of aromas, perception of flavors, perception of tactile sensation, perception of ideas. Similarly, intentions for form, intention for sounds, intention for aromas, intention for flavors, intention for tactile sensation, intention for ideas. This is where, when the craving arising arises, this is where dwelling it dwells. Craving for form, craving for sound, craving for aromas, craving for flavors, craving for tactile sensation, craving for ideas. Similarly, the thought directed at form, thought directed at sound, thought directed at aromas, thought directed at flavor, thought directed at tactile sensation, thought directed at ideas. This is where, when craving arises, this is where ceasing it ceases. Evaluation of form, evaluation of sound, evaluation of aromas, evaluation of flavors, evaluation of tactile sensation, evaluation of ideas. This is endearing, this is alluring in terms of the world. That is where this craving, when arising, arises. That is where, when dwelling, it dwells. This is called the noble truth of origination of stress. And as we are going through, I would invite you all to, as we are contemplating this together, as we are reflecting upon these things together, it's like deep cleaning our mind, taking out some time to reflect upon and see where all we are entangled, what is leading us towards further, towards becoming or suffering, non-becoming and suffering, and try to clean it out to see is it worth holding on to, and realizing whenever you are ready, however much you are ready, letting these things get cleaned off, being dispassionate and removed. And that is what we're moving next on to also, which is, and what is the noble truth of cessation of stress? The remainderless fading and cessation, renunciation, relinquishment, release and letting go of that very craving. And where, when being abandoned, is this craving abandoned? And where, when ceasing, does it cease? Whatever is endearing and alluring in terms of the world, that is where, when being abandoned, this craving is abandoned. That is where, when ceasing, it ceases. So, as we hear endearing and alluring in terms of the world, we can understand is all the six sense medias and how it navigates us through different, like from grosser levels like I or the form to the subtlest about how we delve into it while feeling and perceptions and cravings for it, and our intentions also. So all those are, we can say, in terms of the world condition. And that is where, when being abandoned, this craving is abandoned. That is where, when ceasing, it ceases. So you can see. And what is endearing and alluring in terms of the world? The I is endearing and alluring in terms of the world. That is where, when being abandoned, this craving is abandoned. That is where ceasing, it ceases. And similarly, the ear, nose, tongue, body, the intellect, form, sound, aromas, flavors, tactile sensation, ideas, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, intellect consciousness. These are all the paths where endearing and alluring in terms of the world. This is where we can abandon the craving. This is where, when ceasing, it ceases. Eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, intellect contact, feeling born of eye contact, feeling born of ear contact, feeling born of nose contact, feeling born of tongue contact, feeling born of the body contact, feeling born of intellect contact, perception of form, perception of sound, perception of aromas, perception of flavors, perception of tactile sensation, perception of ideas. This is where, when craving arising, ceasing, ceases, is abandoning, when abandoned, gets abandoned, when abandoning gets abandoned. Sorry. Intention for form, intention for sounds, intention for aromas, intention for flavors, intention for tactile sensation, intention for ideas, craving for form, craving for sound, craving for aromas, craving for flavors, craving for tactile sensations, craving for ideas. The thought directed at form, thought directed at sounds, thought directed at aromas, thought directed at flavors, thought directed at tactile sensation, thought directed at ideas. Similarly, evaluation of form, evaluation of sounds, evaluation of aromas, evaluation of flavors, evaluation of tactile sensation, evaluation of ideas is endearing and alluring in terms of the world. That is where, when being abandoned, this craving is abandoned. That is where, when ceasing, it ceases. This is called the noble truth of cessation of stress. Next is, and what is the noble truth of the path of practice leading to the cessation of the stress? So, if we see this in terms of the journey that Lord Buddha walked in through, can be seen and understood about how he was gradually moving while understanding the things. And as it is also mentioned in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, where as he was observing the suffering, he was also performing the duties with regards to them, which is like when he see the Four Noble Truths, he first stepped in to comprehend them, to understand them, and got it understood. Then there is understanding there is the seeing of origination of the suffering, which is for the craving. And then this is to be how abandoned. The craving is to be abandoned. And then the cessation of the suffering, the third noble truth, that this origination of the suffering, and then there is the cessation of the suffering. So the cessation of the suffering is to be realized, that this was the suffering that was affecting me. This has been comprehended. Where it arises has been seen, abandoned, and is it abandoned, the cessation that has been realized. And then there comes this fourth noble truth, which is the path that leads to the end of the suffering. And this has to be developed, that leads to the cessation of the stress. So when the path gets developed, this very noble eightfold path, which consists of right view, right resolve, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. When these qualities, when these aspects of the noble eightfold path get fulfilled, get full to the brim, they all help in attaining the dispassion, which is all helping us in seeing deeply, deeply, deeply as Buddha saw, and seeing the origination, seeing the cessation, and helping us realize that cessation using the dispassion so that the Nibbida can be attained, realized. So the path which needs to be developed, let's hear it in a little, and then maybe we'll go on with any questions that you have. So, and what is the right view? Knowledge with reference to the stress, knowledge with reference to the origination of stress, knowledge with reference to the cessation of stress, knowledge with reference to the way of practice leading to the cessation of stress. This is called right view. And what is right resolve? Resolve for renunciation, resolve for freedom from ill will, resolve for harmlessness, This is called right resolve. And what is right speech? Abstaining from lying, from derisive speech, from abusive speech, from idle chatter. This is called right speech. If we can see, we can also trace out that the Noble Eightfold Path is just helping us to see and cut out all the greed, aversion, and all the delusional expect in which we are dwelling in for a long time in samsara. This just helps us to like separate out the defilements, the fluence, and walk towards the purity that helps us towards further letting go and realize the cessation of all the subtle suffering that follows too when we are not on the path. So, as we see right view, it is helping us to live with appropriate attention without getting engaged in okay who I was in the past, who I am, who will I be, or whether there is the soul, there is no soul, there is soul, there is not neither soul nor soul, and all these kinds of aspects that follows in terms of soul, self, or when the form is finite or infinite, kind of the view series, or be it Tathagatas exist or does not exist kind view series. But it's all just Buddha tells that these are all types of inappropriate attention, ayuniso manasikara. Just saw that okay, these are all just leading towards further entanglement, but not release. What leads to the release is this Four Noble Truth, is the right view. Like that is, this is suffering. This is the origination of suffering. This is the cessation of the suffering. This is the way that leads out of the suffering. And he said this comes into the appropriate attention because this is leading us out. This is helping us to come to the rest from all these entanglements. Similarly, right resolve helping us to get over the aversion and greed for sensuality. Right speech is also helping us get over the aversion, get over this wanting to hold on to somebody. So we go on into idle chatter. We don't have to do that. This is not helpful, not healthy, cutting it out. Similarly, right actions that can bring harm to others, which is taking life. So we abstain from that. Abstain from taking life, abstain from causing suffering via stealing, sexual misconduct. This is called right action. Similarly, what is right livelihood? There is the case where the disciple of the noble ones, having abandoned dishonest livelihood, keeps his life going with right livelihood. This is called right livelihood. What is right effort? There is the case where a monk generates desire, endures, arouses persistence, uphold and exert his intent for the sake of the non-arising of evil, unskillful qualities that have not yet arisen, for the sake of abandoning evil, unskillful qualities that have arisen, for the sake of arising of skillful qualities that have not yet arisen, and for the maintenance, non-confusion, increase, lentitude, development and culmination of skillful qualities that have arisen. This is called right view. So like the unskillful that has not arisen, not allowing it to arise, unskillful that has arisen, putting a desperate, the strong effort, exertion to clean it out, to not cultivate it any further and abandon it right there. And then for developing the skillful qualities which have not yet arisen, and then maintaining and increasing them, those skillful qualities that have arisen. This is called right effort. Understanding like in deep that okay, this is why we are doing this is all because when we put ourselves into unskillful qualities, suffering is what follows. Even we think that okay, after saying those harsh words I'll feel better, but that doesn't lead us anywhere. So realizing that okay, that leads to suffering. And even though when some situation might be difficult to handle, but we keep patience, we keep endurance, we keep equanimity, we keep understanding, metta, karuna, mudita, upekha, have Brahma Viharas as a base for such difficult situation, we realize that in that short term, it might be very painful for us to hold on to it or to maintain those states. But realizing after those moments pass away, we don't live in the remorse, we don't live in the guilt, we don't live with the shrink heart and body, I would say. And just because they help us to be free from this low frequency, low energies, they encouraged us to live in accordance with the right effort. And you can see that the next step is right mindfulness. So when we are like when we are developing this subtle states of awareness or concentration, we can when the heart is in remorse or is not grounded in stability, in confidence, in doing skillful things, it is very difficult to get into the states of mindfulness and concentration. So again, it right effort act as a strong step which help us to settle in more easily into the higher states of mind. So you can see what is right mindfulness. So there is a case where monk remained focused on body in and of itself, ardent, alert, and mindful, subduing greed and distress with reference to the world. He remained focused on feeling in and of themselves, the mind in and of itself, the mental qualities in and of themselves, ardent, alert, and mindful, subduing greed and distress with reference to the world. This is called right way. Now, every word here holds very deep meaning, and when contemplated right, leads to the great insights and helps in further letting go and abiding into the more and more lighter versions of we can experience. With the time constraint, we'll first walk into right concentration and see if there is still some time we can talk about it a little. So, moving ahead, what is right concentration? There is the case where monk, quite secluded from sensuality, secluded from unskillful qualities, enter and remain in first jhana, rapture and pleasure born of seclusion, accompanied by directed thought and evaluation. With the stealing of directed thought and evaluation, he enters and remains in the second jhana, the rapture and pleasure born of concentration, unification of awareness from directed thought and evaluation, free from directed thought and evaluation, internal assurance. With the fading of rapture, he remains equanimous, mindful and alert, and senses pleasure with the body. He enters and remains in the third jhana, of which the noble ones declare equanimous and mindful. He has a pleasant abiding. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain as the earlier disappearance of elation and distress, he enters and remains in the fourth jhana, purity of equanimity and mindfulness, neither pleasure nor pain. This is called right concentration. This is called the noble truth of the path of practice, leading to the cessation of the stress. And like continue to this passage also. In this way, we remain focused internally on the mental qualities in and of themselves, or externally on mental qualities in and of themselves, or both internally and externally on mental qualities in and of themselves. Or he remain focused on the phenomena of origination with regards to the mental qualities, on the phenomenon of passing away with regards to the mental qualities, or on the phenomena of origination and passing away with regards to the mental qualities, or his mindfulness that there are mental qualities is maintained to the extent of knowledge and remembrance, and he remains independent unsustained by not clinging to anything in the world. This is how a monk remains focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the Four Noble Truths. So that I would maybe stop the screen sharing, and we can see with regards to the world, as it has been said, it is usually Buddha encourages us to understand about how, with regards to the world, it means like form, as it is said, be it internal or external, be it subtle, be it gross, be it in the past, be it in the present or in the future, near, far, any permutation and combination of all the things that that is subject to form or feelings or perceptions, fabrications or consciousness. It is not somewhere to dwell in because they are not the reliable refuge. Clinging to them only brings suffering. Be it in even any idea that, okay, this is happening, or if I was angry at some point, or I felt sad at some point, or I feel triggered at some point, this is me. And how bad am I? And we can go in all the long that direction, and it only brings us suffering. It only brings us sorrow. But when we start seeing it objectively, okay, this has been some kind of a pattern which has been developed out of our ignorance. But then we also see that, okay, this is not somewhere to dwell into. When we allow it to arise, when we see that, okay, it has arisen, when we allow it to stay before forcing it to pass away, pass away. No, no, no. We allow it to stay. We let it be. We see why it has been arising. So it leads us to the deeper, deeper, deeper. Like help us connect with the suffering. Okay, this is where the pain point was. This is what caused me suffering at the first place. And that's why I've been returning it back to the world, perhaps, or to myself, and which is all again in an unhealthy, unskillful direction. And when we are more grounded and more stable and more like getting stronger in our skillful qualities, that is where we get to choose that, okay, when I don't like this harm, when this harm, when this action, either be in my mind, in my body, or in my speech, when done, cause me suffering internally or externally, I don't wish to pass it on to others. So when it is arising, when you allow it to arise, when you experience that suffering, and when you let it go, when you allow it to pass away also. Yeah, this is without trying to bulge into social media or trying to get a good sleep or watching a match, but just trying to stay with it. Okay, that's not the bad, that's not the, if I am experiencing it, I don't want to exclude myself, I don't want to abandon myself for this thing. So why not, if I wish myself happiness, why not I stay with myself in the times of pain, so that when the happiness arises, when this freedom from the suffering arises, we experience it together with that intention. Allow yourself to see with more mindfulness and grounding, okay, as things have arisen, and see as they pass away, and trying to follow the duties with regards to the Four Noble Truths so that it helpfully reaches us step by step out of it. So, not promising that anger might not arise the next time, but perhaps you would have this confidence that, okay, last time when it arose, I know what was the cause. Why is it arising this time? And maybe you will find some another reason, or you missed something last time which might come up, and okay, this was also the underneath process going on, and I discovered it. And so maybe can I let go of it because it's so painful? Maybe one time there can be this voice which says, okay, I can let it go. And maybe it arises again, and there is another like discovery. But allow it to happen, because that is what leading you to closer towards happiness, closer towards, yes, I am getting free from this suffering, I'm getting free from this pattern, and I can stay calm, I can stay free from reacting or involving all the time, and I choose to act in the way I want and not getting swayed by the world that okay, you forced me to do this. This is not what I wanted to do. That type of thing. Okay, with that, I would like to conclude, and maybe I see some questions, so maybe we go there a little while. And
And start by
thank
saying Satu, Satu, Satu. Modena. Thank you very much, Venerable. And yes, please, questions are welcome.
you, Juno, for your kind remarks. And yes, James, Namo Buddhaya. In Paticca how do we get rid of ignorance? Also, what is the Buddhist consensus on trying to communicate with ghosts? Just curious. Okay. Interesting curiosity. Even I had it, but with caution. But okay, Paticca Samupad, basically Buddha tells that how we are subject to birth, aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. And tracing it back, he realizes it is coming from ignorance and not understanding the ignorance itself. And as, like why we are doing things, just like we were talking a few minutes ago about how we are just suppressing and we just keep moving on. Okay, this is the present moment. This is where I'll rock, let go of the things in the past. And that past is like controlling us like a puppet. And we just keep acting out of it again and again. So that what we are doing is out of ignorance because we are not understanding where which string is pulling us to do this thing. And so as we understand this thing, when the ignorance fades on its own, like completely with awareness, we can make the end. We can get rid of the cycle of getting entangled into ignorance or dwelling in ignorance or finding comfort in ignorance. And yeah, that is how we can also get rid of the suffering that follows. So how do we get rid of ignorance? By being aware. China, do you have anything to say or add?
Uh, well, I'm a little distracted at the moment. But no, I think that's a good answer. And maybe we'll have another class sometime on Praticca Samuppada. I think that would be a very good topic to spend a little more time on. It's a big topic. But yes, I think good initial answer. We'll get back to it on a later in our series.
Sadhu. And also seeing like the second part of the question that Buddhist consensus on trying to communicate with the ghost. Buddha didn't really encourage in going in that directions, but sometimes when people practices concentration and like grows into the sensitivity, they can sometimes have experience of clairvoyance or clairaudience, and they can hear and see things. And the basic uh, guideline is just to have a lot of metta flowing so that you are protected at the first glance and they are not harming you in any way. And then just try to be grounded and
Sorry, I just
not endlessly, but then also connecting with how what is the lesson trying to teach you, what are they trying to tell you, or how you can come out of your suffering. That would be the best use to getting into it.
sorry, I just kind of wanted to clarify. My brother's kind of into like ghost stories, so I just wanted to keep like, it from a Buddhist perspective? Like, is it okay? Is it not okay? Should we like not really do that? Because you know, it was just curiosity. So
Buddha initially just taught how what is suffering and how to get out of it. So he was, I think, in very much a big favor of not getting entangled into more suffering, but just walking through the way out of it. So it can be a little complicated if you are not with guided people or who can guide you throughout the journey in a safe way. So, yeah, I would just suggest not to be really entangled into it, but first like being easier enough or more simpler enough that you don't get entangled into the external things that flow or the external complicated story of other realm people.
If I might add, there's a book, the biography of Meichi Kao. It has some good ghost stories and also talks a lot about how that is integrated or not integrated into the overall practice. It's very helpful for that, I think. So I always recommend that book when people ask me about ghosts. Meichi Kao, her biography.
Also, the autobiography of Ajahn Man Buridato has encounters and experiences with the ghost, and that is also a good point where we can learn and take lessons from. And Mark, thank you very much for that. Yes, Daniel, please. Sure.
Hello, I just wanted to say it's good to see you again. I saw you last Vesak in or the rain season last year, and it's really good to see you again. So I hope you're doing well, and I just wanted to express that.
You. I'm well. I'm also missing Dhamma Dharini.
Well, hopefully you can come back soon.
I hope so too. And it's so happy. I'm so happy to see you all also again, like the part of permanent family that gathers and sincerely come together to practice and listen. So really appreciate the association that you are open to and really rejoice in how even after 2005 year 100 passed away, we are still getting connected to the gradual discourses of the Buddha. And when China and Dhammadharini Venerables keep on adding such beautiful series that keeps us connected and grounded in the Dhamma. So beautiful experience. Blessing, I would say. May you all keep growing. And I see there are still few more minutes. So maybe we can take this time and do some metta for the world so that people understand and learn that yes, there is suffering and there is a way out and there is skillful way out that wishes nobody no harm, that brings no one no harm, neither to us ourselves nor to others, and the peace can be made. We share in our beautiful merits coming from practicing the Dhamma, coming from listening to the Dhamma, coming from this opportunity to see and hear it, even if there is anyone who is hearing it for the first time. It's a big merit. And may all the living beings in the world get to hear this. And may they be free from their stubborn views. May their heart be gentle and sensitive enough to understand this suffering and to exercise some metta and compassion above all the grudges, above all the hatred. May they be able to choose love. May they be able to choose forgiveness. May they find this opening where they can allow their remorse to flow out and save themselves from the unskillful actions that acts as the step for the downfall. May nobody fall into this misery. May nobody falls into suffering. May those who are walking towards path of darkness, may there be a suitable condition arising that they find this ability to turn around and start walking in the direction of light. May everybody send and spread peace, loving kindness, compassion endlessly. And may all beings live happily, free from animosity, free from all suffering. May all living beings be well, be happy. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Anumodana. Thank you very much, Venerable, for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you again soon. And could close by paying our respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagawa Buddhang Bhagawantang Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your patient listening. And have a good evening or good morning in India.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Everyone for joining.